Another golden compost system to have in any food grower's garden is a worm farm. Now, worms in the worm farm are not your average earthworm that you see swimming through your lawnscape. Instead, they're what we call the red wriggler or the tiger worm. They love nitrogen-rich environments. Now, I'm going to show you how to set one up. So, if we take off these top layers, you'll see the bottom layer is solid with only one drainage hole. It's designed to capture liquid and to funnel it into a bucket or onto the ground. Here I'm going to let it all funnel onto my beautiful mulberry tree, which will love that fertile liquid. Now the next layer that you add on has got holes all through the bottom to allow liquid to drain through freely. As it's our foundation layer, I've put in some moist carbon in there as well. So I've got some mulchy moist straw here. From here, I can simply add my food scraps in on top. And I can add my worms in. I've got some beautiful red wrigglers and compost worms here, the tiger worms. I can add them straight in there. Now you'll see here I've got some big banana peels, I've got some citrus, which is fine in moderation, as well as onion skins and worm farms. Now technically it would have been better if I had chopped this up to be smaller, the size of a 50-cent coin. However, just to make it a bit more quick to break down. But really don't worry about it, it will still get there, it will just take a bit longer. Now, you can't leave it exposed like this to the air. The flies will come, it'll dry out too quickly, the worms will be sad. So what we do is we put a worm blanket on it, which can be simply a bit of damp cardboard like I've got here. You can also use some hessian or a woolen blanket. Now, you could leave it there and put the final rainproof top on there, or you could add another layer once your worm population has bred up. The other layer will look identical to the first and have lots of good drainage holes. And the worms can climb up the side through these holes to reach new food scraps once this one is full. So you only add this once they've run out of room. But because we're just starting this worm farm, you can just pop their rainproof lid on, which still has some good air holes in there, and that's good to go. We love composting worms so much in our garden that we built a giant worm farm from an old recycled bathtub, which I'm sitting on right now because it also doubles as a beautiful seat where I can sit and admire my garden and my goats. Let me show you around. The first thing you notice is this giant cardboard worm blanket. Underneath, you'll see a blend of food scraps and a bit of carbon in there mixed in, but not much. The worms will be down below because they love the moist, cool environment and they'll be having a feast. Now with a giant bath system like we have here, we do a few things to make sure it works well. Firstly, we just feed one side of the bath at a time. That means that things can be managed quite efficiently and they'll all mature evenly. So when it's time to harvest, you just harvest one side and it'll be looking beautiful, brown and moist, just like you saw earlier. Now the other thing we do here is we collect all the leachate down below underneath the bath. It's a beautiful brown liquid which is incredibly fertile for your food crops. Another way to keep compost worms is by making what we call a worm tower. Now you can buy these for quite a lot of money from the nursery, or you can make your own out of an old 20-litre bucket like I've got one here. And all you have to do is drill holes all the way around the side and the bottom. You then half bury it into your garden. Now I have happened to have an in-ground vegetable garden here, but you could do this in a raised vegetable bed on a balcony garden or a rooftop garden. It's very versatile. Then the next step to do is to add some worm bedding in there. I'm going to use a bit of mulch and a bit of the garden soil. Once your worm bedding's in, you can start popping in all your food scraps and of course your compost worms. Now, just like every other worm farm, it needs a little worm blanket on top. I'm simply going to use some mulch today. Anything carbon material will help keep that moisture in, making sure those worms are happy. Last but not least, pop the lid on, keep the rain out. The compost worms will travel in and out of those holes in the side of your bucket. It'll do laps of your carrot patch and come back in, eat some more banana peel and repeat that process hundreds of times fertilising the soil for you. You don't have to do any work. How wonderful! The worms are happy and you're happy. A little hot tip for you when you've got big zucchinis or other chunky vegetables that you want to put in your compost system. You shouldn't put them in like this because they won't break down anytime soon. Instead, get your friendly spade, pop them on the ground, chop it up, and it'll break down a lot more easily. There's many different types of home composting. There is something for everyone. Plus, you can also download a free compost booklet from the Kingborough website to help you on the way. But the main thing is that you have a go.